small sufferings to Christ's infinite suffering to give them redemptive value. But there was something else Carlo was doing during those 15 years, something that shocked everyone who knew him. Something that's especially relevant for us today, because it involves the very device you're probably holding in your hand right now. Something that the Church says was so significant that it became one of the primary reasons for his canonization. And what he did with technology will challenge everything about how you're using yours. Let me ask you a brutally honest question. What did you do on your phone yesterday? Scrolled through social media, looking at other people's lives, watched videos for entertainment, played games, got into pointless arguments in comment sections, sent messages about nothing important? Wasted hours on things you can't even remember today? Now, let me ask you another question. What will any of that matter in 100 years? In 1,000 years? In eternity? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's all dust, wasted time that you'll never get back, wasted talent that God gave you for eternal purposes. Wasted opportunity that could have been storing up treasure in heaven, but instead stored up nothing. And here's the painful truth. Every hour you waste on meaningless things is an hour you could have been reducing your time in purgatory. Every talent you bury in entertainment is a talent that will have to be accounted for at judgment. Jesus told a parable about servants who were given talents by their master. Some invested them and multiplied them. One buried his talent in the ground and did nothing with it. When the master returned, that servant was cast out, not because he did something evil, but because he did nothing with what he'd been given. How much have you been given? Intelligence, creativity, skills, technology, resources, time. And what are you doing with it? Carlo Acutis had the same tools you have. He was a teenager in the early 2000s. He had a computer. He had internet access. He had the same distractions and temptations that every teenager has. But he did something radically different. When Carlo was 11 years old, he asked his parents for books, not video games, not the latest electronic gadgets, books on computer programming and web design. His parents were surprised, but supportive. If their son wanted to learn technology, why not? Maybe he'd become an engineer or software developer someday. But Carlo had a completely different plan, a plan that would impact souls around the world long after his death. For the next year, Carlo spent hours after school teaching himself to code, HTML, CSS, basic programming languages, web design principles. His mother would find him at his computer late into the evening, not playing games or chatting with friends, but writing code. "Carlo, what are you building?" she'd ask. "What's this for?" "Something important, Mama. Something that will help people believe. You'll see." By the time Carlo was 12 years old, he'd created something remarkable. A comprehensive website cataloging every single Eucharistic miracle recognized by the Catholic Church throughout history. Not just a simple list, a professional multimedia presentation with photographs, historical documentation, scientific analysis, witness testimonies. Cases where bread transformed into actual human heart tissue, where wine became real human blood, where hosts remained incorrupt for centuries. Events that happened in the Middle Ages and events that happened in recent decades. The website was so well researched, so professionally done, so compelling that it's still being used today in parishes around the world. It's been translated into multiple languages. It's been turned into a traveling exhibition. It's brought countless people to faith in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist.
Pinapakita kaya ng
But
mga
here's
pari
the
yan.
question. Why?
Yan ang dapat
Why would
makita
a
ng mga pare.
12-year-old spend hundreds of hours creating this instead of doing what every other 12-year-old was doing?
Dapat yan
Because
ipinapakita
Carlo
sa
understood
simbahan
something that directly connects to avoiding purgatory. Jesus said, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But
Healthy home starts with care. Protect your family.